What's going on, Twitch? Wednesday, 4 o'clock. That means it's time for streaming on streaming. What a wonderful Wednesday. Thank you all for joining Streaming on Streaming this week. It is Wednesday, March 1st. Wow, 4 o'clock p.m. in the Eastern Time Zone. I am Todd Sharp, the Principal Developer Advocate for Amazon Interactive Video Service. And if you're new to the show, welcome. Very awesome to have you here with us. Appreciate you taking your time to join us. This show is all about building interactive live streaming video applications in the cloud. Obviously, because I'm the developer advocate for Amazon Interactive Video Service, we do have a heavy focus on that service, but we also talk about other topics. We talk about creator-related topics, things for creators to learn how to stream better. Sometimes we chat about stuff like that, talk about hardware setups, microphones, cameras, lighting, neon, all that kind of awesome stuff. But yeah, for the most part, we do talk about building live streaming applications, and it's something that we have a lot of fun doing. I have a lot of fun doing. I hope you have a lot of fun watching. So, March 1st, what is our topic today? Last week, we talked about auto-recording live streams to Amazon S3, and that's a really cool feature. If you missed the stream last week, I do encourage you to check out the video on demand. Should be available right here on the Twitch channel. Also, if you're interested, check out youtube.com/c/recursive codes. You can see my handle right there on the banner under my video there. But yeah, all the old videos are also posted there on YouTube. I also do what's called every week something called stream drops. And essentially that's these hour-long live streams kind of distilled down into a 3, 4, 5-minute kind of recap of the topic. So less of me babbling and chatting on and on about certain things and getting distracted and going on tangents, and more of just the meat of the episode. So yeah, check those out. So chat, tell me, we have several folks here today. Where are y'all from? What's on your mind today? What have you been building? What do you want to see in a future episode? Yeah, any questions you have, any interactions you want to participate in, I am all for and love to hear it, love to see it, and we'll have a good time. So this week's topic, before I get into that, my father-in-law Arnold, he's a good guy. He's a very good guy, very hard worker, and spent the majority of his career, 30 plus years, very blue collar role. He owned a tree service, and what they would do is they would go trim people's trees and remove trees if they had to, clear power lines, those kind of things. So why on earth am I telling you about my father-in-law and his tree business? Well, because today we're talking about logging. And although my father-in-law didn't do any logging, which is a slightly different, I guess logging is more clearing land and cutting it for the wood, as opposed to a tree service. He did do some logging though. He did some jobs where they would clear land and sell the wood for logging purposes. But we're talking about logging today. And that was my cheesy joke. Don't worry, I do have a list of cheesy logging jokes that I would love to share with you and get your opinion. So yeah, let me throw one of those out at you. These are really, really terrible. Some of them are so bad, I'm embarrassed to even say them. Let's see here. Let's start you out with one. What did the tree say to the lumberjack? Leave me alone. Yeah, these are bad. These are bad. What did the tree say to the lumberjack as he was going home? What a relief. Why did the cat run away from the lumberjacks? He was afraid of their bark. Get it? Bark. Okay. All right. That's enough terrible logging jokes. If you have a terrible logging joke, please feel free to share it in chat and we will all have a chuckle together. So, logging, chat logging specifically. So, we've talked in the past here on the live stream about Amazon Interactive Video Service chat. Talked about it several times, actually. We talked about creating new chat rooms, we've talked about moderating chat, and it's a really nice way to create interactive experiences alongside of your live stream. As you see here, right here on Twitch, on the right-hand side of the screen, you have a chat window, and it's a really powerful way to interact with your audience and communicate with them, get feedback, and for the community to interact with each other, really, because so many like-minded viewers show up to view a stream here on Twitch or on any user-generated content platform, and they can interact with each other, and they're actively participating in that entertainment as opposed to passively consuming it. So it's a helpful feature. It's a nice feature. And Amazon IVS makes it really easy to add chat to your live stream. So we've looked at that in the past. But there's a new feature that we released about a month ago, I want to say. Maybe a little longer. I can't remember. Yeah, it was about 4 or 5 weeks ago. But essentially it's a way to log all of your chat messages. Now, why would you want to log your chat messages? I got a little list here that I'll kind of jotted some notes down. And the first reason that I think it would be helpful, and actually this list is kind of broken up into two different schools of thought, right? One of the schools of thought is from a developer or from a business standpoint, why you would want to implement chat logging. And the other reason, the other category is reasons why content creators or broadcasters would want chat logging. And of course, that should be very important to you as a developer, as a business person who's building an interactive user generated content platform, because the happier your content creators are, the better your platform does, right? So the first reason, and some of these kind of overlap those categories, but let's get into it. So the first reason is obviously when I'm done with the stream here, what I like to do as a content creator is review the chat logs for feedback. Just kind of go over the list, see who's engaged, who's interested, where they're from. Sometimes when people share where they're from, it's a really cool thing to find out where your audience is through the chat. I mean, of course, there's analytics that can show you on a larger scale where your viewers are at, but who's sharing where they're from, and tell me where you're from. If you feel like sharing that in the chat, let me know. So reviewing feedback and just kind of analyzing the engagement. Is chat, is there a lot of messages? Is there not a lot of messages? Why is there a lot of messages? Why is there not a lot of messages? Just kind of that engagement analysis that can be performed after a live stream. It's a nice to go back to a live stream, look at a log, and see what people are talking about, because it can be really difficult in a live stream like this. It's easier, obviously, for me. Well, I shouldn't say obviously, because everybody's different. But for me, it's easier in a live stream like this, in a format like this, where I can look at the chat and interact, especially with kind of a lower volume of chat messages going on. It's easy for me to follow and keep up with. But some streamers, especially here on Twitch, for example, like who have huge, massive followings, it can be really hard for them to interact with that chat and follow that chat as it's flying up the screen. I've gone to watch some streams on Twitch of some gamers, and I'm like, how could you even possibly keep up with this chat that's just nonstop flying up the screen here? So in those cases, it could be helpful to go back and check out the chat, analyze it, check out engagement. Another reason is to kind of the ability to index those chat messages. So put them in a open search, send them to open search or put them in a database and actually index that, have it be searchable. You know, if I'm looking at a past live stream and I have a log of my chat, I'd like to be able to, I know Rise and Shine posted a comment, but I can't remember what she said. Let me go back and search. So if I'm in my console, I can go back and I can search for messages and be able to kind of find a message and review it. Data retention. Maybe your application, that you're building, has some sort of data retention requirements. You need to retain chat messages for a certain period of time. Post processing. Maybe you want to provide a translation of that chat log after the fact into different languages for distribution in different, which I guess is, well, no, because it does make sense. Because if you had a VOD and you translated the chat, you could potentially also translate the dialogue, the audio of that video into another language. So that could potentially be a way to expand the reach of your content to other continents, other countries, other states, whatever they may be. Sentiment analysis is another thing, right? There's a lot of powerful cloud services that can do sentiment analysis on chat. So the 5 messages that we have here, I could run them through an AI model and get the sentiment of the conversation. And we have I can't. What does that say? Hernan Cortez ESP says, "Hi, beautiful guy." Very, very nice compliment to me. So that's a positive sentiment that we can analyze. Discovering bad actors and spam or abuse. Another use for logging chat. You can go back, review it, find out if there's anything going on. At the same time, maybe you banned a user during chat for a comment or something they said or posted, and you want to go back and review that chat log and make sure that you were not being overly reactive and make sure that the context of that conversation is properly understood. And maybe you want to unban that person. Maybe you want to extend the ban of that person, make it permanent, these kind of things. So it's just good to have that chat log that you can go back and review. Training models for chatbots is something I wrote down. Maybe you could feed a ML model with some previous chats, train it, and have it reply to certain users based on certain keywords, something like that. And finally, the last idea that I jotted down was, most importantly to me, VOD replay. So when you have a auto-recorded live stream to S3, which we talked about last week, which you can catch the VOD of to learn more about, you have your video on demand, you have your chat logs. Now you can put the two together and actually have a proper VOD, video on demand replay. So as the live stream is playing on playback and messages are posted, you can actually post them in the replay at the point in time they were posted to the chat. And I hope to do an example of this on a future live stream. I do have a blog post about it, but I think it would make a really nice tie-in to kind of tie these previous two, this stream and last stream together to kind of show that final example of just tying everything together and having a full chat replay experience. So yeah, those are kind of my thoughts on why you would want to do chat logging. Thank you, Rise and Shine. She says, really clever use case examples. Appreciate it very much. And I'll throw it out to you. I mean, any other ideas in the chat? Any other kind of reasons you think chat logging is important? Why you would want to add it to an application that you're building? Let's talk about it. Love to hear your thoughts on that. So what I would like to do now is I want to actually show you how to set up Amazon IVS chat logging. And there are a couple steps that you need to, there's 4 steps we're going to cover here today. Um well, yeah, I guess it's more like 3 steps with a prerequisite. I don't know. I don't know how you want to quantify it, but essentially what we have to do is we need to create a chat logging configuration object. And the prerequisite to that, which makes it 4 steps, is before we can create a chat logging configuration, we need to create a CloudWatch log group. And before I jump into that, I should mention that there are 3 different destinations for chat logging with Amazon IVS. You can log it to CloudWatch, you can log it to S3, and you can log it to a Kinesis Firehose. Firehose is not, how do I put this? I've not played with that. There may be a great use case for that, but it's not something that I've had to do or, um, so yeah, S3, um, probably better for like archive purposes for like that data retention use case that we spoke of. Um, as far as retrieving and querying and kind of searching, S3 is probably not the most appropriate destination for chat logs for that use case. So that leaves us CloudWatch. I find CloudWatch to be very usable. It's searchable. You can retrieve things from it. It has a nice console that you can go and search and put on filters for date ranges and such. So I like to use CloudWatch, and we're going to use CloudWatch. So to create a chat logging configuration for CloudWatch, we first need to create a CloudWatch log group. So we'll look at those 2 steps. After we've created the logging configuration, we need to associate that logging configuration with a Amazon IVS chat room. Now we can either associate it with a brand new chat room or an existing chat room. We'll look at associating it with an existing chat room. So I should also mention that login configurations do not have to be unique. They don't have to be one-to-one. You can have a login configuration apply to multiple different chat rooms. So if you ever need to, if you have just one configuration for CloudWatch, for example, you could apply that to multiple different chat rooms. As well, you can also apply multiple configurations to a chat room. So if you wanted to log to both S3 and CloudWatch in Kinesis, you could do all 3. You just create 3 separate login configurations and you associate all of them with the chat room. So we'll create a login configuration, create a CloudWatch log group, associate it with a chat room, and finally, we'll retrieve those chat logs. There's some considerations that we should keep in mind when retrieving those chat logs, and we'll talk about all of those. So let's get started. I will share my screen here. Hey, I actually remembered it this week. Usually I forget to actually share my screen, and somebody in the chat after about 60 seconds of confusion has to post a message that says, "Hey, are we supposed to be seeing your chat, your screen right now? Because we're not." So I actually remembered it. I'm getting a little better at this, getting a little more comfortable with it. So just checking my screen to make sure that that font looks big enough. Should be good, right? I think you all can see that font pretty good. So let's create a CloudWatch log group. And we're going to use Node.js. So the AWS SDK for JavaScript version 3 is what we'll be using. And I'm going to create a node script, a few different node scripts just to keep things simple, help you understand how to do these things. You may take them and integrate them into your application. That may be a serverless application. Maybe a serverless application. It may be It may be a Java application. You can use the Java SDK, maybe a Python app, whatever it may be. I just want to kind of illustrate the possibility here, show you how it's done, show you what it looks like, and go from there. So for the first script to create the CloudWatch log group, we're going to use the CloudWatch logs client, and that comes from the client CloudWatch logs module. We can npm install that into our application. And to send requests to work with this SDK, we need to create an instance of the CloudWatch logs client by calling new CloudWatch logs client. Now, much like many other things with the AWS SDK, the API is very consistent. And that's one of the things, going back years of working with AWS, it's one of the things that I've most appreciated as a developer, that consistency of the API. If you work with S3, if you work with CloudWatch, if you work with the IVS client, there's a very consistent feel to almost all of the operations. There are very, very few exceptions, but for the most part, you get very comfortable working with these SDKs, and jumping to one module or another becomes much easier. And I can appreciate that as a developer. I'm sure if you're a developer, you probably feel very similar to me in that. So consistency. So we have a client, we need an input object, we need a request object or a command, and then we send that command on the client to get a response, and we do something with the response. So most of the time, that's kind of the standard flow. And it's no different in what we're going to do here today. So the first thing we're going to do is create the input object. And the input object for the CloudWatch log request requires a log group name, and we'll call it SOS chat logging demo. And to create a CloudWatch log group, that is the only object we need in our input object. So we'll create a request, and that will be a new create log group command. We'll pass it the input, create a response. We'll get a response by awaiting the call to CloudWatch logs client.send and passing it the request. And we'll log that out. We'll log out our response, and just double checking my code here. We have an input object, log group name, create a request. That request got auto imported. Good. Await. Okay. All looks good. So if we run this, create CloudWatch log group. All right. So we get a 200 response, which is good. Means that our log group has been created. And just check in here. Okay. So we can now start using this log group with our logging configuration. We don't need the ARN for the log group because, as we'll see in the next example, we can just refer to that log group by name. I'm pretty sure. I'm 99% sure. We'll find out as we go here. Already forgetting my own code. That's not great, but it is the middle of the week. I was up late playing Call of Duty last night, little DMZ. Did really well, by the way. Got 3 weapons cases, took out the chemist. Didn't extract with his gun, though. I got griefed by some other players at the last minute at the exfil. So, yeah, so let's check the chat here. So you feel very looked after when libraries or packages respond consistently, don't you? I mean, I totally agree with you there, Rick James. You feel very looked after when libraries or packages respond consistently. I also worry that it was only one person creating the entire package or library, and that's why it's so consistent. Actually, I don't think I'm pulling back the curtain here when I say this. I'm pretty sure that this is very common knowledge. But to be honest with you, many of these SDKs are generated code. Um, they're actually kind of generated, so that's why they usually are very consistent because they're generated by some process. And they're obviously heavily tested, but yeah, sometimes you do you do kind of wonder you do kind of wonder if it is like one person writing every single SDK and library out there, right? That would be a terrible job. It'd be a very busy person. Um, Up and Forward Media says, could you also use this with YouTube chat? Unfortunately, this login configuration only applies to an Amazon IVS chat room. So, um, because essentially what it's doing is all of the messages that get sent through the WebSocket server, they're just logged to CloudWatch, kind of not necessarily intercepted, but essentially as they're sent through the Amazon IBS server environment, they're logged to that destination. So you could not use it with YouTube chat. I don't know. I don't have a lot of experience with YouTube live streaming. Do they provide a chat transcript at all to you? If so, maybe you could do some kind of import to pull into CloudWatch. If you're kind of multi-streaming, that might be a potential idea there. But yeah, this particular login configuration only applies to Amazon IBS chat. So let's create our chat logging configuration. We've got our log group. We'll copy the log group name, and in our input object for the logging configuration, we need a name for the logging configuration. So we'll call it SOS demo. What did I call this one? SOS chat logging demo. So we'll call this SOS chat logging config. We need a destination configuration. And this is an object. And the reason this is an object is because it can support those three different destinations. It can support S3, Firehose, and CloudWatch. So for this configuration, if we wanted to log to all three of them, we could specify those within this configuration. But for this one, we'll just say CloudWatch logs. And the CloudWatch logs object needs a single property, and that is the log group name. And I'll paste the log group name that we just created. We have our destination configuration object as a CloudWatch logs member, and that has a property of log group name, and that is the log group that we just created, or the log group that you want to use. It doesn't have to be brand new, whatever log group, as long as it exists, pass that in. So again, we will create a request, and this one is a create logging configuration command. Pass it the input. Something my IDE does not like here. What do you not like here? Oh, it does not like the Naru keyword. So we will use new instead. Mr. Yan, I will get to that question in just a minute here. Thank you for posting it. And we'll get to that in just a sec. So sorry, that's a request. So our response equals await IBS chat client dot send the request. And again, we will log that out. So this is creating our logging configuration. So if we again run this, create chat logging configuration, we get a response back with a 200 status code. We get the ARN of our logging configuration. So this is our logging configuration, not the chat room. We get a create time, a destination configuration, just a confirmation of all that input that we just sent. And our logging configuration is created and ready to use. So good, we've got our log group created, we've got our logging configuration created. We're ready to now associate this with a IVS chat room. And we're at 4:30, so I should do a quick recap for anyone who's just joining. Welcome. Appreciate you joining us here on a Wednesday afternoon. I guess if you're West Coast, it is still afternoon. If you're in another time zone, good evening, good morning, whatever it may be for you. Thank you for joining. Jackie, awesome to see you, Jackie. Thank you for joining. Good to see you. We still need to if you don't know DevOps Jackie, shame on you. You should know Jackie. Jackie is awesome. Jackie is um, a developer advocate here at AWS. She is the co-host of Build on Weekly, Build on AWS, which runs Thursdays at noon, if I'm not mistaken. Thursdays at noon Eastern, Thursday at 9 Pacific. But no shame. Everyone is friends. Thursday at 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, and 6 CEST. So yeah, good to have you here, Jackie. Appreciate that. I need to have Jackie on. I was supposed to have Jackie on. Was that last week or no? It was the week before. But I was in Oakland for Developer Week, and unfortunately, my session that I was doing at the conference was the exact time that I normally stream here on Streaming on Streaming. So it was kind of a sad, bittersweet that I had to miss the stream. But I promise I would love to have Jackie on in the future. She's a ball of energy. She's super smart. She's just amazing. So yeah, Streaming on Streaming. We talk about things Amazon Interactive Video Service and other topics about building live streaming applications. Thank you for joining us. It's 4:31. Let's so I promised Yan that I would answer Yan's question. So Mr. Yan 19 says, does IVS work with Media Live Media Package or is a completely separate platform? So I believe, Mr. Yan, you're referring to Elemental Media Live and Elemental Media Package. I am not terribly familiar with Elemental, and I know that there are a couple folks that I know at the company here that are going to yell at me for saying that because they're big fans of Elemental, and Elemental is awesome, but I'm not a huge user of it. I do know that you can use IVS streams with Media Live. For example, I built something recently. I was playing around, and I believe it was Media Live. But what I did was I restreamed an IVS stream to YouTube and to where else was it? To was it Instagram? Might have been Instagram. But essentially, I'm pretty sure it was Media Live. So yes, it can work with the Elemental suite of products. I'm not the expert on that. If you would like to learn more about that, I could probably find somebody very easily who would be able to chat about that. So let me know if that's something you would like to see, and we'll work on that. I'll jot that down as an idea. In fact, I will review this chat log after the live stream to remind myself to check on that topic. Boy, I'm just full of little callbacks and of little kind of self-promotion like that, right? Anyways, glad you're joining us. Let's get back to the code and keep on working on our logging configuration. And look at that. I remembered again to share my screen. This is a perfect stream so far today. I don't, knock on wood, don't want to jinx myself, but I'm getting better at this live streaming thing. And I have to say thanks to all of you for joining and making it easier for me to just kind of do this, because the interactions, the questions, the feedback makes this job a whole lot easier. Not that it's a difficult job, but you know what I mean. All right, let's associate this login configuration with an IVS chat room. So again, we have the IVS chat client, courtesy of the AWS SDK for JavaScript v3. We have an instance of that client. And yes, absolutely, Jackie. It's a fun job. And our friends in chat are one of the best parts. Absolutely. Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better. So we have an IVS chat client. We need an input object. The input object here. So I said earlier, I was talking all about consistency. And this is one thing that does slightly bother me. And I've shared this with those who should know, but this is slightly not consistent. And what I mean is, in this case, we need to use a property called identifier. And I suppose it's done to be flexible, but in actuality, what they're looking for is the ARN of the channel. I wish it would just be ARN, but they're asking for an identifier. So we're going to pass the channel ARN, the chat ARN as our identifier. And I have that in my environment variable. So I will just use demo chat ARN. It's an existing chat room that I already have. Then we need logging configuration identifiers. At least that's consistent. They're looking for identifiers again. And that's actually going to be an array. So as I said, we could associate multiple 2, 3 configurations with a chat room. So in this case, we're going to pass an array of ARNs. And I'm just going to paste in the ARN of the login configuration that we just created. And that's it. That's our input object. To associate it with the chat room, we need the ARN of the chat room, and we need an array of login configuration ARNs, and that's our input. So again, we can create a request object, and that is a update room command. So we're going to update the IVS chat room. We're going to pass it the input. We're going to get a response by awaiting the call to IVS chat client.send and passing it the request. And trying to think here, I believe this chat room already has a configuration, and I do believe that this will overwrite the existing configuration. Before I run it, we'll verify that. So let's finish the code here. We're going to log out our response, and let's hop over to my console and look at my chat room. So right now, my existing chat room, I do have login configuration set up, and it is for this ARN, which is not the ARN that we just created. So we're going to run this, and we're going to see what happens in that console. I'm 99% sure it will overwrite that existing configuration, but we're about to find out, right? The fun of live coding demos. Chat associate logging config.js. All right, so we have a response. We have a 200 response, our chat room ARN, and we see a array of logging configuration identifiers. If we check our code, ends in UIB. This one also ends in UIB. So we do have an array of logging configurations that only includes the brand new logging configuration. So if I reload this, we will see this change right here. This will change. Why is my reload button not working? There we go. Yes, so that did change. So it did overwrite it. And as I said, it was 99% sure, and it did overwrite it. So just something to be aware of. If you don't want to overwrite it, you might want to first retrieve that chat room. If you're just wanting to add a login configuration, make sure that any existing login configuration ARNs are passed along in that array, and you'll be good to go. You'll just have additional login configurations at that point. So we've created a log group, created a login configuration. We've associated it with a chat room. If you were to if you were looking at a brand new chat room, we could quickly take a look at that. If we look at the docs for the IVS chat, so if we're doing a create room command, the create room command input also has that property logging configuration identifier. So the input object for creating a room is the same as it is for updating a room. So good to know. Make sure you understand. Um, that's how you associate a login configuration with either a new or an existing IVS chat room. So now that we have done all that, 4:39, we're doing great on time. So we've got all this set up. Now, let's join a chat room. And this is just a demo that I've built. There's a live stream on the left there. And please don't look at this tiny little gap below the video player. This little gap down here, I don't even know if you could see it, but it drives me nuts that I haven't fixed that yet. I know what's the problem is. I know why that gap is there, but it just drives me nuts that it's not pixel perfect. Yeah, see? The zooples, I see the gap. Exactly. Doesn't it drive you nuts? Those tiny little. Okay. Anyways, moving on. So I've got that live stream on the left. I've got my chat on the right. This is an example of chat moderation. So I'm joining as an admin. I have these little icons that can allow me to delete or disconnect a specific user. So you know what I'll do here? I'm going to open that in another window. Oh no, you know what? Here's what I'll do. I will join this chat room, and I'm got this pulled off onto my other monitor right now, so I don't confuse things too much. But I've joined this room as another user. So Todd joined the chat. So now we can start chatting with ourselves in this case, and just kind of build up a little bit of a log. Got some messages that are being passed back and forth between users, very chatty conversation going on here. And then at some point, Todd is going to say, let's say Todd is going to say something offensive. As you can see here, Todd has said something offensive. Let me bump the font up a little bit so that you can all see that a little better. But say Todd has said something offensive, and the admin is going to delete that. So I've clicked that button and removed that message because I don't like anything offensive being said in my chat, in my live streams. So it's just this typical workflow, right? This chat back and forth, that kind of stuff, right? So now we've built up a little bit of a chat log here. I'll close my other window and come back to this window. And we'll say, thanks for joining. So we have a little bit of a chat. Now, we've got all these messages logged. And let's actually, so before we pull it back with code, let's go to CloudWatch and see our logged messages. So if I'm in my chat room details here, and to show you, just remind you how we got there, we go to rooms. Under IVS, we go to chat rooms, and then we click on our chat room. And if I scroll down and view that message logging configuration, I have the destination, which is the log group that we created. So if I click on that, we will see our lovely chat messages in a log. So in the log group, the log streams are going to be named with this naming convention. So it's AWS/IBS chat logs /1.0/room _, and then after the underscore is the last part of your ARN. So that identifier from the ARN. So that's the format it'll be in. Don't worry about trying to remember all of that. We will, let me post this here. I'll post a link. There is a, oh, oops, I actually highlighted that chat again. So I'll post the link in chat. So that link that I just posted is a blog post that kind of walks you through this whole process step by step. Don't worry about trying to memorize everything we've done here. If you want to read that blog post after the fact, that'll walk you through this whole process, and you can even copy and paste the code if you want to. Not that anybody ever does that in the history of programming. Nobody copy pastes anything. We all write our code from scratch every time. So, right? Whoa, knocking my microphone around here. Okay. So we go to CloudWatch, we open up the log stream, and we see all of our chat messages. So this is the actual JSON object that's logged. It's not just the string content of the text message. It is the actual chat event that is passed through, which is nice because it contains a lot of helpful information. It contains the timestamp of the event. It contains the type of event, in this case, message. And you may be asking yourself, well, what other type of event can there be? And spoiler alert, if you're looking down here at the bottom, there's also events, and I'll show you that in just a second. So you also have the attributes object, which contains persistent attributes that you have associated with the chat token for this particular chat user. You have the send time, you have the actual message content, all that good stuff. So now you have all these chat events logged to CloudWatch. And you also have these events. What is an event? An event, in this case, is an AWS delete message event. So when I, as the moderator of that chat, went in and I deleted that message, it gets logged as an event. So if you were to replay this entire stream, it would be a little difficult to account for moderation, right? Especially, well, obviously manual moderation is tricky. And if you just kind of loop through all of these events, output the content, well, first of all, this one doesn't have content because it's not a message. You'd get some errors and it wouldn't be replayed properly because there's moderation that happens. There are other events that happen. You can do custom events. I've blogged about some of those types of things. For example, I've used chat for doing a whiteboard and actually used the chat event bus to pass all of the coordinates for whiteboard drawing through that chat event bus. So there's many things you could use this for. You just have to kind of massage the data a little bit, kind of rearrange things, and in order to get it into kind of a replayable state. And we'll look at that. I think we'll probably not have time to do that today, but in the next stream where we talk about chat replay and putting all this together, we'll definitely take a look at that. So I've got all these logged events, and now the last thing we're going to do is actually retrieve those with the SDK. So same format, client CloudWatch logs, create an instance of the client, create an input object. We need to pass it a log group name, and that would be the name of the log group that we created over here. I'll paste that in. We need the log stream names. These are the names of the log streams that we want to return. And again, it's in this format. It's AWS / IVS chat log / 1.0 / room _ and then the last part of the ARN, which I'm going to actually use a snippet here that I have to get that. So we'll hard code this one for now, and I'll paste that in there. So we have log stream names. Now we need start time and end time. So we're going to retrieve this list of chat events. We want to retrieve it for a start time and an end time. We have to retrieve it between a start time and an end time. We can't just open-ended submit a request for all chat events. We need to kind of filter it down a little bit. So for this, I'm going to use new date, which in JavaScript and Node will give us the current date time. I'm going to say set seconds, do a little cheat here to set the actual time to be, let's say, 60 seconds times 30 minutes. So 60 seconds times 30 minutes. So 30 minutes. Yeah, 30 minutes in the past, indicated by negative there. And then for my end time, I will say new date, set seconds, 60 times 30. So we're going to retrieve a log of events within a hour window of right now. So 30 minutes in the past, 30 minutes in the future. That should return everything, all of those chat events that I just posted in that little demo chat room. Again, we'll create a request object, new filter, and this will be a filter log events command. So we'll pass it the input, get a response by awaiting CloudWatch client.send, passing it request, and we'll log that out. So if we console, oh, actually, you know what? Before we do that, so we're going to get back all of our events. Let's do just a little bit of, oh, you know what? They're all going to be coming back as text. And since all of those events are JSON strings, we're going to want to parse those out. That's what we're going to do here. I'm looking at my notes here, trying to remember what exactly it is that this code is doing. So we're going to, excuse me, response.events map. So we're going to call map on the events object that's returned with the result. And we're going to JSON.parse message. So this will give us a object containing or an array of objects containing all of the chat messages. So if we log that, log events, and we run that, clear. We run the chat logs. There we go. Excellent. So if I scroll up here and show you this, we get an array of objects containing all of those chat events from the chat log. So to recap what we've done here today, we created a CloudWatch log group, created an IVS chat logging configuration. We associated that logging configuration with an IVS chat room. We logged some chat messages by actually just sending them through that chat room that is associated with the logging configuration. And then we used the CloudWatch SDK to retrieve that chat log and get an array of events corresponding to all of the events in that chat room. If I scroll down here and show you again, in this case, we have that event. We're going to need to parse this out and kind of reconstruct the chat log, if you will. And that's what I hope to do in our next stream, which won't be next week. Next week, I'm actually going to be on the road to Twitch headquarters. And fingers crossed, I plan on live streaming from headquarters, from the actual Twitch streaming booths in San Francisco. So looking very forward to that. Still haven't finalized the topic yet, but I do highly encourage you to invite all of your family and friends to join the live stream. No, not all of them, but those who are interested in live streaming, and why not? Everybody else, everyone's welcome to join. You don't have to be interested in live streaming or building those kind of applications to join the stream. You just might find it a little boring and my jokes a little stale and kind of unfunny. So we've got a few minutes left here. Let me kind of catch up a bit on the chat because I kind of slightly ignored it. I do apologize for that, but just wanted to make sure that we got all of our code written in time before the end of the stream. So taking a look at chat, since I'm not usually around here, what kind of things are you, chat, interested in building from Todd's streams? Thank you very much, Jackie. Appreciate you engaging there. The Zoopal says, I'm currently interested in getting in AWS in general, so I've been lurking every time this channel goes live. And that, to me, is the beauty of the AWS Twitch channel. So much good content, so many smart, interesting, charismatic, just really detailed content. It's like drinking from a fire hose sometimes when you come on the AWS Twitch channel, right? There's so much information. There's so many good hosts, and there's so much to learn. And Zoopals, I think this is an amazing place for you to be. If my buddy Aaron Hunter was here, he would tell you, Jackie, you might have already answered this, Jackie, but what is the site that Aaron always recommends to people to learn from. And let me actually catch up on the chat here, and maybe Jackie already answered it. Jackie says, "Oh yeah, that's dedication. We have a lot of shows. This is true. This is true." Um, DevOps Jackie says, "I would never copy paste random code. That's why this keyboard is so cool." And Jackie posted a link to the Stack Overflow the key macro pad. I've got to open that up now. Actually, Jackie, you've I think I know what it is. I'm 95% sure I know what this is. Yeah, yeah. That's what it is. Let me share my screen here and share that with everybody else if you haven't gone there yet. The Stack Overflow the key macro pad. And it's essentially just Control C, Control V. You got to throw in undo in there, right? Because sometimes you accidentally you have to undo and redo. Those are the Control C, Control V, Control Z. Used to be Control Y. Actually, none of it's Control because I'm a Mac user, so it's Command. But on Mac, what is it? Command Shift Z is undo. I've been a Mac user for years, and that's been the hardest key combination for me to remember. So yeah. What else do we have here? So Zoopal says, "I've been using Pluralsight, but I'm not too sure about it. Might go to Udemy." Zoopals, do me a favor if you don't mind. I'm sending you. I'm posting in chat. Aaron S. Hunter on Twitter. Shoot him a message. Give him a follow. He's a great, amazing guy. He also has a show that he does here on the AWS Twitch channel. Very easy to talk to, very fun. Would love it if you followed him, but ask him that question. And I guarantee you that he would have some amazing resources for you and suggestions for you to learn more about AWS in general. And yes, no problem, Zoopals. The Zoopals. Appreciate you joining. So we've got about 4 minutes left. And what do y'all think? What do you think about the topic today? Was it something you found interesting? Did you learn something? Is there anything else that you'd like to see in a future stream? Let me know. If you want to, you can follow me on Twitter at Recursive Codes. You can hook up with me on LinkedIn. You can follow me here on Twitch, although I don't stream much on my own channel here on Twitch, which is also at Recursive Codes. I've been threatening to stream some Call of Duty for like months now, and I've yet to do that. Mostly because I'm embarrassed to show you just how awful I am at the game at times. No, I'm actually pretty decent for an old guy. I'm pretty decent. But yeah, what else do you want to see? What do you like? What don't you like? All that good stuff. Very welcome. Very appreciated. Thank you all for joining me. As I said, next week, Wednesday, March 8th, we will be live from Twitch headquarters. Jackie, I got to get you down to Twitch headquarters at some point. And you were trying to. That's right. You were. Never mind. All right, I'll take this offline. Did we ever get you in there? I can't remember. If not, we'll definitely get Jackie down to Twitch headquarters, give her the tour, and get her online live streaming from Twitch HQ. So yeah, streaming on streaming. Thank you all for joining, and we will see you next week live from Twitch HQ at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, right here on Wednesday. All right. We'll see y'all next time.